You see them in the classroom, the hallways, and even in the cafeteria every day, but how much do you really know about your teachers?
Amanda takes a seat with Mrs. Brown and finds out more about this charismatic English teacher in our first Teacher Spotlight.
For us students, we are finally beginning to realize that teachers do not actually live in the school, and they do in fact have a life outside of Plymouth North. One particular English teacher who treks her way to school every morning from Providence has had quite the experiences prior to her career at North. Mrs. Brown has used these amazing experiences to create a diverse learning environment for all of her students. Graduating at the top of her class at New York University, Mrs. Brown left with a degree in journalism and communications. After working for Good Morning America for a year, she soon realized that her true passion was teaching. Along with her newfound career goal, Mrs. Brown also started traveling for a fresh new start.
I have traveled quite extensively. My first experience abroad was when I studied in Spain for 6 months while studying at NYU. After that, I was in Portugal. I taught in Peru for a bit. I also taught and started a library in Honduras. I studied in Russia for a little over a month. I've been to Croatia, Slovenia, Bosnia, and most recently I was in Cuba this past summer. I think one of the best things about traveling, especially as an English teacher, I feel like I can bring a lot of credibility to the experiences that we talk about when we are reading a novel. And I think that it just makes the discussion a bit more interesting when I can bring in personal experiences like newspaper articles from the Cuban newspaper or, propaganda posters from Russia or whatever it may be. It really livens the discussion, and I think it also prepares students for the world after high school.
Through the experience of opening a library and teaching at an all-girls school in Honduras to her volunteer work in Peru, Mrs. Brown was quickly able to appreciate cultural differences within different countries.
So both Peru and Honduras in the neighborhoods that I were teaching were extremely impoverished. So, of course, the differences between the two types of school were vast. And I think, when I hear students complain, like, I hate school or, this is awful, I just think in my head how much the students that I was teaching in Peru and Honduras would die for the opportunities that we have here. And so it's sort of a humbling thing, and it sort of kind of brings you back to reality a little bit. And so I don't think a lot of students realize, while they may not love coming to school, it is definitely a huge privilege that we have here.
Not only did her travels make her appreciate the value of education, but the obstacles she overcame as a youth did as well. This caused Mrs. Brown to throw herself into her academics, which has inspired her students and colleagues to do the same.
I learned a lot about Miss Brown as a person and as an educator. I know that in her past it was kind of hard, but she overcame those challenges to be who she is today, and she strives for kids to do better with their education because she thinks that education is the key to success.
Mrs. Brown as a teacher is very student-centered. She's all about her kids. She worries a lot about her curriculum. She wants to make sure it's perfect. She wants to make sure that every student is getting the best possible education that they can. As a person, she's friendly. Of course, we all know she's very outgoing. She doesn't hesitate to dress up if the occasion arises. So I'd say she's an excellent addition to our school and our English department.
Although school at times may seem tedious, Mrs. Brown has proved that education can take you anywhere that you want to go. Reporting for PNN, I'm Amanda Strickland.